Very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the agenda. My name is Taiwan Bella. Tonight on the platform, I'm joined by Alphons Kahuhu Koruhama. He is an indigenous knowledge researcher who has done a lot of work around the proposed Baynes Hydropower Station in Epupa in Kunene region. Alphons and many others have done a lot of research on that subject regarding the potential impact of that project. Thank you very much, Alphons, for making time. It's a pleasure. Tell us first, where is Epupa? I know it's in Kunene. I think it ought to be in Epupa constituency, but the Epupa area itself where this project is proposed, where is it geographically?
Yeah, thank you very much, Toiwo, for giving us a platform for us to sit here tonight. And it's a good question, because when we talk about Epupa, people just know about Epupa 4.
Yeah.
And as you said, Epupa is in the northern side of the region, of the country, on the northwest, just to be precise. If you go to north or south is Ruakana Hydropower Station, and the same river go downstream. That's where Epupa itself. Epupa is also an area.
Yeah.
It's not just a small place. It's an area where the Kapika traditional authorities have been leading, or it's a territory area that they are leading on.
Yeah.
So the project that we are talking about today is not necessarily Epupa, but the first project that the government wanted to initiate in the early 90s was the Epupa at the hydro itself, at the 4. So, but due to the research that was done and the opposition, the oppression from the community, the opposing, the government revert back, and also through the research they say the impact of putting a dam there is meant to be much more to the community. That's why they moved downstream, 48 kilometers down the stream of the same river, in a place called Orokawe.
Okay.
And in this place called Orokawe is also in the same jurisdictions of the Kapika Traditional Authority and another traditional called Umbuku Traditional Authority and Amanda, the Ovahimba communities. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from you is that the site at which the project was initially targeted has been moved further down, some 8 kilometers further down, but the river is the same.
Yes.
Okay. So if I was to walk in this moment as I talk to you and I go around where this project is being earmarked, what would I find there? What is happening? Is there water falling? What's happening there? So
downstream is not more or less attractive as the Epupa fall itself. It's more as a river. What you find in that area, there's 2 holy mountains. One called Yorukoro in the Namibian side, the secret mountain of the Himba communities, and another one on the other side called Chirambo on the Angolan side. So the river passed between these 2 big mountains. So if you look in that book, we mentioned those things in the biocultural protocol. We map it also is there. Okay. And on the site where the dam, the base dam is located, there is 12 grave sites that are located in that area. And as I said, Orokawe is part of Epupa. That's the grazing area for the Himba communities and Ovahimba community in that area. Now those are the specific that you find there. But there's a lot.
So when you say holy mountains, is it in reference to the graves, or what makes them holy?
The mountain, if you come to the rural cultures, land have different meaning. Grave, that's where people are buried and where we also do some ceremonies and all those things. But in a certain area, you'll find a mountain, you'll find a tree, you'll find a river that are holy. So in those areas, for instance, sometimes that's where you find wildlife, and there are some rituals. If you want to visit, maybe go for gatherings. Back then, you used to go hunt or do hunter gathering or gathering some wild fruits. There are some rituals to be conducted before you climb that mountain, and there are certain way you should behave. You are around the area. Sometimes certain area doesn't like noise, doesn't like modern stuff like a cell phone or TV or certain things. Those are the type of thing that is happening in those mountains.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's raining now. I hope I hope our sound will still be audible. Maybe we can just speak up a bit.
Yeah.
So, what did you say was the reason again for moving the project from the originally identified site to where they are trying to put it now?
That it was the impact it has, because when you are building this type of nature of dams, it covers not only the river, but it also comes to a certain area is covered underwater, and the people were residing closer to the area, so the impact was much compared to the other part. Because this one also is not more mountainous as the other part also. So that's why it was the impact was much in the 1994, 1998 environment impact assessment that was conducted. And also, if you look at that, also the oppositions of the community opposing was also huge. Then there was no divided communities. There was one voice that was speaking about objecting this project. But in this case, we have two groups. One in agreement, one is in a disagreement.
Those that oppose, what are their grounds? What is the ground of the opposition?
So, first of all, the whole project, those who are opposing, their ground is that, first of all, they feel like they were being sidelined in the whole process of consultations that the government is talking about. And two, if you are being sidelined, then you are not in a table. So that's what leads to them and also us come in as researchers and try to do what can be done. Then we go to international instruments that can be used, like the BCP that we developed, that can be used as a vehicle that can be able to help the community voice heard by the authorities. And one of the ground is we talk about their grazing. Because I told you from the beginning, these are their grazing area. When we are dealing with pastoralist communities that move from season to certain area. So, and Kunene is also one of the drought-prone areas. So, where there is a dam now, that's where they do grazing during drought season. Like this time of the year, you find people move to that area. So one of them is the graze. We want to find out where we should build, where will our grazing area, how is being handled through the process. And I told you there is a 12 grave sites. And grave to the Herero, Herero being umbrella, that's the same group as the Himba and Olachimba, it still have the same meaning. So it's a place of identity, a place of worship. So what will be done? So the whole discussion about relocation and all these things is not being done because they have been sidelined.
And currently, the area apart from grazing, which is taking place there around this time of the year, and maybe other times of the year, is there any economic activities happening in that area other than livestock farming? For example, tourism or anything like that? What is coming out of that land right now, economically?
Thank you very much for the questions. We're talking about the Kunene River. And that river started from Epupa, as you said. And in the Epupa area, you'll find a lot of lodges along the rivers. But from the community also, it does not only do grazing for livestock. Also during this time, when the river, because of drought, it goes down, the water goes smaller or in the smaller streams, the site where the water was become washer. So they plant there in certain areas, in that area also. So you do some plantations. There are also some ecological food from the plant that they get from the plant that grows in the rivers also, where they gather those fruits and all those things like marunga and other type of food that they get from the same river. And the same river is also feeding the marine foods conservancy downstream, down to what the Kunene mouth. So So that's another economical activities. And if you go to marine fields, it's one of the conservancies that is doing well when we come to their finances, because if you go to their local, is crocodiles. We are talking about the dam that should be constructed, that maybe you had to accumulate water for a certain period of time. How will that affect the businesses that are on downstream? And those who are also grazing the area.
Alphons, can a dam, how much space can a dam take up? I mean, it's not like the dam is going to take up the entire village. I'm speaking from a very ignorant point, of course, because I haven't been to the site. But I've seen dams. I've seen Nekatal, I've seen Hardap Dam. I don't know what would be the size of the proposed one here. But how much space can a dam really take up to impact grazing and things like that?
So if you read this one, you talk about 48 kilometers. That's a lot of land that people are utilizing during that time of the year. And and the area I talk about 12 sites of graves will be underwater. And that's not necessarily the only thing. When you talk about dams, constructions, we're talking about a development that is coming in the area. And these are the indigenous communities. In the government, they call it marginalized. And we're talking about the influx. Who's going to be there? Is it the Himba that the government talk about jobs, creations, and because it's a development, what type of jobs are we talking about here? Is it hard labor, or is it technical jobs, or is it a skilled job? And for all these things, it's in the same context, the impact there. So we are talking about Himba communities who are not wearing shirts, me and you that you are wearing. They are half naked, as people are saying. So that if you accumulate water of that nature, the cold weather that are coming during that season, the disease that are coming, like mosquitoes and all these things, is the community aware of all this impact to their life? So the influx bring with different people that are coming in, and we have a lot of young people who have no jobs and all these things. What is the impact to the culture itself? We are living in a modern life transitions and all these things. So there's a lot going on. It's not about grazing, but it has a lot in behind it.
Those that are opposed to the project, are they opposed to it in totality, or they feel if certain adjustments are met, they can live with it? Is it for them a yes or no question, or is it no unless this happens?
I think the opposition come into through sidelining, through the process of consultations. And I've been engaging with the community for quite some time. And when I was developing this book, I was working with both groups, those who are for and those who are against the dam, because I was taking the whole Kunene, and this was about the BCP, not about the Baines dam. So, and those who even for the dam doesn't understand what they gave or what they said yes for. Because you talk about what compensation in place for the relocations of your grazing, your grave sites, your whole the secret sites. They don't have anything touchable on the table. And the same also this one, what they want is to be put on a discussion table, just for them to be consulted. Then they will be able to know if you relocate them. Okay, so for instance, there's 48 kilometers of grazing that they've been grazing for generations. What will be replaced with? Are you give them 2 farms? Or are there will be no farms in place? Where will you locate these 12 graves? Where will you take them? Because grave, it's not like just you pick and drop somewhere, because it have identity, it has about the origins, the spirituality, connection to those places. Those are the stuff that need to be discussed before we come to the conclusion whether we say yes or we say no. So what we need is just to put the good and the bad on the table and see which one should we go for.
So the environmental assessment things, have they taken place yet?
So when I read, they took place, I think in 2019. If you look at it now, it's already expired. So if they had to go ahead, they had to do a new one. And what they did, one of the things that they do in the environment assessment, the indigenous knowledge aspect, they have oversight on that matters. So at this moment, I would say there is no environmental impact assessment at this stage.
So the one that was done, it overlooked the indigenous realities of the area.
Yes.
They just stuck to their technical template that they use, and it doesn't have that element of indigenous.
The aspect. That's where, with the community, we come up with the BCP to guide the governments when it comes to the issue of FPIC. And also how the community governs the areas and all those stuff. And also with the same community, we also hire some technical teams that are good in the same to look at an alternative to hydro. So we have research that are done on solar energy. We compare the cost that the dam has and having the same equal power generated from the solar solar plant, and the impact what the dam has and what the solar has. So there is a paper going out for that the committee did that proposed that the alternative could be you can get the same megawatts, but less impact, less cost. So the committee have that product in place, but yet the government still doesn't look for the alternative.
Do you think, Mr. Koruhama, that this government that we have had for the past 35 years would be so negligent to overlap into holy sites like a graveyard? Surely the dam ought to be some distance from that. Because now when we say that, it's like it will venture into that space to the extent that even relocations would be required. Would it really go to that extent?
It's a very good question to you. And we're talking about 35 years of governance of our government. And if you look at the previous administrations, they used to have a deaf ear when it comes to certain issue of that nature. And the people who are also running this type of projects, I think they don't have an understanding when it comes to local knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and also they have some certain deaf ear. But in the new administration, I think we have hope that our Madam President could have a different ear to listen. And that's why we are trying to speak out now at this moment, because we know this new administration is more considerate than the previous one. And that the law is there for protecting of heritage sites and all these other things, but we find that they don't give, because if you look, even if you go around in the communities and in different discussion where you said, those people why they are refusing the dams? They just fell for grave. Even there's no construction around it and all those things. They can just take the stone, those bones, and go and relocate. So so that negligence in the previous administration, I think it was there, but now I think there's a hope for discussion.
I saw that the president visited Kunene recently, and she spoke about. She sort of provided some update on the road to Epupa, the construction of a road to Epupa, which I suppose is primarily meant also for the envisaged project, and people didn't take it kindly also. There was some opposition already to say, but with this road construction going on, it's clear now that the government is proceeding with its Baines project idea, while there's still pending consultation issues. Because, I mean, you wrote an article in Namibian Sun recently in which you said consultation is not consent. You don't come around, you talk to the people and say, this is what we want to do, and once you tick off that box, then you think that people have consented or whatever. If you can expand on what you meant.
Yeah, thank you very much. On that article, I was looking at our environmental law and also some local laws and compared to the international law.
Yeah.
And also we articulate it also into our BCP.
Yeah.
That there's a gap in our environmental law. And even the Mining Act also. Yeah. There's a big gap. And that's why you find a lot of concerns from the Kunene when it comes to mining issues, is because consent in this law is not veto. The committee doesn't have a veto power. For example, we have a case in Ochikonavirongo where I came from, where a mine was operating there. It endangered plants. It destroyed the environment. If you go to the EIA of that project, he said after you damage the stuff, you have to repair or replace it before you continue. So the committee stand and have an opposition. We wrote a letter to the ministers, we wrote a letter to the Minister of Environment, and just to go and speak to this company called Sunset. Well, with all these oppositions, so what this guy did, he went there and divided the committees and get one guy installed as a chief. He gave him a consent while the majority of the committee said no. What happened? He got his license because the committee have no veto power. But what the international law says when we come to FPIC, when the committee say no, whether it's an individual or a group or a women group or a youth group or it's a certain project, that should be revisited. A no is a no and a yes is a yes. But when you come to our local law, it's a box ticking. And also, most of the consultation we look at is more desktop kind of. People doesn't go to the area. They doesn't, even if you give me the map of what you did, they cannot even give you. So it's a similar issues. If you come to the issue of Baines, you have a process where the project, they establish a committee, where meetings are taking place mostly in Opuo, in Epupa area where people are being called, conservancy chairmen and all these individuals that are called to a meeting. But if you look at, they are not looking at the whole communities. And as I said, the majority of the team who are directly affected are not part of this team. And one of the things that the government also doing wrong is the issue of dealing with castrated traditional authorities. While this book, it will tell you that we have 84 chiefs in Kunene area, but it's only 8 out of the 84 that are gazetted. So that's why we have a lot of complaints when it comes to mining, and that's why we have a complaint when it comes to these Baines issues, because the majority of chiefs that are running those communities, the government gives deaf ears when it comes to consultations.
Saying they're not gazetted and therefore...
Yes, we cannot deal with you. And the other thing, when it comes to community participation and consultations, what these people does, because based on the law, you have to advertise, you have to give notifications on billboard and all those things. If you go to Rwakabe, there's no radio, there's no network, and people were there, they didn't go to school. So what you do, you advertise in the newspaper, they don't read newspapers. You put your ad on the radio, they don't have radio signals. You go and put your stuff in Okangwati or Epupa, in the Epupa itself where they shop and all those things, on the paper, on the wall. These people doesn't read. But what you come back do, you said, I did what the law requires. Then so the project will go ahead. That's the gap that we have.
I understand. We go for a very short break and return with Alphons. The conversation with Alphons Koruhama continues on the agenda. Now, let's talk about, there's a phenomenon, Alphons, that is going on within communities. And that's why I was asking about the private business interest in the area. What I have seen with lodge owners and tourism companies and even 4x4 car hire companies is that they are generally opposed to any development that seems to touch the look and feel of the area. They will say people come to our lodges because of the pristine scene of our area, the animals that are roaming here, they bring us income and whatnot. And those companies, in some areas of the country, they have used local people. They identify one guy or two and thrust them at the forefront as the poster boy of that resistance. And then they make the resistance to be seen to be coming from the community when it's actually them who are instigating communities in order to protect that private interest. Is this the case here in this case, in this matter?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. First of all, when we come to the Baines project, this group of people you talk about, they're interested party.
Yeah.
And when you come to the government consultation, they should be party to that, but they are not there.
Yeah.
Based on somewhat I have been reading, they are not consulted. And to come back to your questions, I'm from the communities, and I've been doing research for almost 10 years now in the communities. And I never came across one or two groups or companies or businesses that are operating in the area talking about the same issues. And the topic we discuss about Baines is now it become kind of a history, because it's based from Epupa, project that was run in the early 90s. So the community has the same resistance that they had back then. They still carry the same fire that they are having. And what is different today is that the man who was championing this project was the Kapika, the Elder Kapika, who the chief Kapika, Hikuminwe Kapika. So when in his early, now he's a bit old, he's in the early 90s, so he, on the side of the government, he authorized that you go ahead with Orokawe. And what the committee does, the whole chief council install his younger brother to oppose. This is the legacy that said we cannot leave our legacies, we can still continue. So just to answer you short, I never came across such business entities that are behind this.
Yeah. I know, for example, Alphons, that you attended this thing in Brazil. What was it called? COP 30 or something like that? What is it called?
Okay, in Brussels there was COP in Belém, but I went to attend another conference that deal with, we had groups, a global movement that we are creating on communities that are affected by macadams and indigenous communities that have been sidelined when it comes to development.
Yeah.
And based on the BCP, because I developed one of the BCP in Namibia, that will be the first one that we have.
Yeah. BCP is what?
Biocultural protocol, community protocol that we have in Namibia. So that give me a position to go to this so that I can educate other indigenous communities and also people affected with macadams. So we have a parallel meetings to COP that have issue. Our agenda was to look into this issue and create a global movement.
So none of these rich companies operating in your area funded your trip to Brazil? No. Who funded it?
So we have an organization that funded this project. If you look at the BCP, there's two non-profitable organizations that are based in South Africa that funded this. This organization worked with another organization called MAR in Brussels that deal with indigenous communities and also these are the one organized. So they submitted names of people that they work with in Africa. So which in Namibia being me that have been working in the BCP. So the organization in Brussels funded the trip.
Okay. I needed just to clear that.
Yeah.
In Kunene, you spoke even in your article in Namibian Sun, you spoke about mining activities that are also on a rise in Kunene. One of the things that I have seen as a news person is this constant clashes, not necessarily between communities, but between these competing business interests. You want to put up a mine, I run a conservancy and lodges in the area, and I feel that your presence in my area, even if it's really quite a distance between the two operations, somehow the mining guy should not be allowed to do that. In Uis, which is in your region, of course, but much in the south, there are those big battles there in court now. Ultimate Safaris versus some, I think, Andrada or something, some other companies and others. And the big fight there is that I think Ultimate Safaris has 3 rhinos there. And they are saying the blasting of the mine will chase away their rhinos, which will then affect their business because they fly in rich clients to come and view these animals. Now, whose interest must we take here? Why can't they coexist? If all the environmental things are ticked off and they are monitored constantly, and people are, of course, unlike the mine that you spoke about, the Sunset one that you spoke about, that you said it left some things there. If the things are monitored constantly and the mining companies are abiding to the rules that they've been set for them, conservancies are they also thriving, why can't we coexist?
I think we can coexist if the process is done right. The only challenge that I think when we come to the mining is the issue of consultations.
Yeah.
So I think I will point fingers and that the challenge that we face in Kunene, as you say, is the process of consultations. Like as I said in the Baines, the business people are not consulted, but they will be affected in the process.
Yeah.
So what will they feel if they are not being part of the process from the beginning? That's a similar situation that you face, especially when it comes to the issue of EPL.
Yeah.
I one day went to the Ministry of Mine and go to some of the engineers just to give me the map of EPLs in the whole Kunene and who owned them. And if you look there, 95%, not 90% or 100%, none of the Kunene person had an EPL.
Why? Did they apply? Could it be linked to the factors that you mentioned? They cannot read, they cannot, maybe they missed out on all these adverts and all these things?
Perhaps yes, but what does the government do? Do you empower them? Do you do something capacitate them so that they can come eat the cake? Yeah. So that tells me that when you come to the issue of consultation, as I said, there's a problem there when we come to this environmental law and we come to the Mining Act.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking, the Bono conditions is that we should do the process right.
Yeah.
We have to consult whether the person is cassetted, whether he's not or not cassetted. We should consult all the stakeholders, all the interested parties.
Yeah.
So the Uis mine, I think, if you go and read it well, I think that company that is taking them to court was not consulted from the beginning. They deal with the communities, and when the company realized that these things will come and affect. So from my view, based on the experience that I get from the mining that happened in our area, I was thinking that in the future we should make our conservancy to apply for the APL in our area.
Yeah.
Reason being, these people, first of all, they understand because the conservancy have mapped the whole area. This is for grazing, this is for wildlife, and this is for mining. But if you get someone who have an APL who have no understanding of what is happening in the area, they just mine where there is earmarked for other important aspects. When you come, tourism is one of the contributing industries to country GDP.
Yeah.
But in the process, because of mining, you also want to affect them. So I think there's a challenge that we have to come together and find out what is the problem. But I think the root cause is the law or the policy that is in place that leave the affected community not to have veto power when we come to consultation. So the issue of FPIC should be centered to these things.
Yeah.
And we address those things in the BCP.
Yeah. So in principle, you're saying coexistence is not an issue as long as it's done correctly.
Yes.
Or, yeah. Because in the UIS area, again, because that is the most fresh thing that is happening. I think there was even a Supreme Court judgment on Friday last week. The issues around that is that, I don't know, because the community, we must also face the truth. Kunene, with all its resources, is probably the poorest region in the country.
Yeah.
The irony couldn't be more, pronounced. So you can't have a region that has flowing waters, flowing falls, waterfalls, tourism booming, minerals under the soil, but yet the paradox is really that people are very poor there. To me, it could be that the economic activities that have happened in your region so far have not actually brought proper empowerment to the communities. It's rich people from elsewhere, whether they are now mining in your region and loot out all the minerals and go sell them somewhere, become rich. But even the tourism companies there, what are they doing actually to empower the people of Kunene? What's the point of saying, oh yes, we are in Epupa and there are nice lodges here and the tourists are coming, they're taking photos of our half-naked women and children, and then off they go. Where is the benefit to the community? Why can't we have both industries? Because the president, the new government is talking about job creation. Some people think mining would also really push the numbers up, in addition to the existing infrastructure of tourism already. Why can't we just say, why can't the people of Kunene properly benefit?
I hear you, Toiwo, and at what you said, that question, talk about Kunene being the poorest. I think we had to define what being poor means.
Yeah.
Or being rich means to a Himba person.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I understand that.
Yeah.
Because I know that wealth within your community is defined differently. Maybe it's a man with cattle and all that.
Yeah.
But the social welfare element cannot be left out.
I hear you. I'll come there. But that's first that you had to understand what rich mean to a typical Himba person.
Yeah.
And we're talking about development, we're talking about tourism, mining, and all these things. Now, let's speak from the Himba's perspective, not from the social aspect that we're talking about. Let's take from the Himba perspective.
Yeah.
Will mine give me 10,000 cattle? Will tourism give me 10,000 cattle? Or will these things who come and occupy places of my grazing area, where I'm supposed to graze all these livestock?
Fair enough. That's fair enough. But
that's from the Himba's perspective.
Yes. But must we set a definition of wealth just specifically for the Himbas? There ought to be a national definition of what poor and rich means, of course, without ignoring the cultural realities of people. But if you say you live below the bread line, if you say you are uneducated, that can be, there's a threshold, a national threshold.
A national threshold, that's where, when we come to the process of consultations, when you deal with people who have different perspectives when we come to certain issues, you had to bring them on the table. Development should not be top-down structure. It should be a bottom-up approach. But the problem we have, even the tourism sectors, the conservancies are well adopted. It's one of the projects that the Himba Committee adopted well. Do you know why? Because it was a bottom-up approach. It was a project where the committee said, we can help you to facilitate. They are in leadership. They were part of the decision and it to the adoptions. The challenge we have when it comes to tourism, as you mentioned it, and also to the mining, is consultation. These people are not on the table.
Yeah.
So when you talk about development from the economical aspect, you talk about you to have houses, you have cars and all those things, while the other person is talking about drilling for me boreholes, let me have grazings. You are sitting on the table with people who have different perspectives. So first of all, we had to have people who can define what could be done if we sit together and be able to discuss. I will give you a practical example. I was working with NAST as a researcher, and we were doing consultation in Kunene, doing research in Kunene with a Himba man. So when we started, we were just students, honors, some with masters and PhD. Then one day I was sitting with this guy and I asked him, and I asked with all the professors, and I asked him, when I studied, I was at honors, I came to graduate my masters, the guys still have nothing. And they said, no, this guy, we can give him an honorary doctorate at the university. We can propose that or call out these articles or these papers that we are doing at the school level. I said, that means nothing to a Himba person. What we should do for him, even for his community to start respecting him, because if I get a doctorate, you cannot call me Alphons, you have to say Dr. Alphons. But for him, what should you call? I said, let's drill a guy boreholes and bring water to his area. Let's give him maybe a car or something, that he raised some of his respect.
Yeah.
So what we are having now in this discussion is a fight between two world views and a world perspective that need to be set somewhere where we can be able to do. And I think I used to call myself I'm bridging the gap between the modern world and the indigenous world. So there are certain people who can be able to help in that area to bridge the two. Yeah.
The dynamics within the Ovahimba community, Alphons, is very complex, as you've consistently said through this conversation. The realities of the Ovahimba people is different. The outlook on life is different. But when it comes to ancestral land issues, every single development, infrastructural development that has taken place in this country, it has taken place on someone's ancestral land. Whether it's the road that goes to South Africa from here, it cuts through the Nama communities areas. But the issue of ancestral land seems to be more pronounced within the Ovahimba community. As if to say that ancestral issues and land are more important within that community than in mine. How do we balance that? Because how you treat the men from Kavango is exactly how you must treat, of course, without, again, ignoring the local realities, but somehow the template has to be the same.
I hear you. I hear you, Taiwo, and that's a very good question, a good point that you brought up. And the challenge I face, as I said, I'm an indigenous knowledge researcher. Give me any policy that integrates indigenous knowledge in our government.
Yeah.
I think 2019 we had a youth under the Ministry of Youth. They have a youth day in Dodabes, and I was one of the speakers on that day. And before I went to the stage, there were two young people from Dodabes. These are Namas, who have a project of doing construction. They do bricks laying and all these things. So they apply several times to the government, to the Ministry of Youth, because they don't have a qualification of being bricks laying or something of certain sort. They were disqualified. You go to AgriBank, for instance, there's a youth programs for youth to go and get a loan for agriculture. But the requirement says you have to have a certificate in farming or in agriculture. A typical Vabo guy who is from a Nana or Kalongo, who never went to school, who grew up farming his father's garden, does not qualify. But they have indigenous knowledge of farming. That's the gap that we have in our policy when it comes to indigenous knowledge systems.
Yeah.
So there's a case that happened, it was last year or a year before, in Oshinene. There's a tree called Gaudepo. Maybe you heard about the Herero tree where the genocide the Germans were hanging Hereros.
Yes.
So that tree, the Herero community, we used to go and do a commemorations there every year. On the 2nd of October, they go for commemorations for that tree and Olombudo Vindimba. So when the town council of Uchinene was established, didn't dare to consult the Herero chief or Herero chief council, because that territory, because that area is closer to a town where they want to establish, because there is no policy that guide the town council that when you are coming to the area that is ancestral land to a certain group, you should consult because of lack of policy. So the town council came in, and last year, the Herero, I think the year before last year, they put a monument there without even speaking to the town council. So the town council wrote a letter to the Herero Tradition Authority that we have 2 groups, as they say. We remove that thing if you didn't go and remove that thing in certain period. It was 2 days or 3 days. I got that letter and I wrote a letter to them myself. That the first day that town council was established 10 years before the Herero used to commemorate there. But you never dare consulted them. When you look, I pull all the international law and put it in that letter to tell them that the person who said the wrong is you guys, the town council, who never consulted the ancestral people who are in that area. When you are expanding your town, you should speak to those. That's a monument for the Hereros. Why you didn't consult them? As we speak, the stone is still standing. So I think the ancestral issue that you're talking about is because when we come to the Himbas, we hold on to our stuff. And we are still, as you know, that's why we have a lot of tourism. It's not like it's not known everywhere, but the Himba is still intact with their cultures. Yeah. And we are trying to preserve it. Yeah. That's why it looks more like it's the only people who are to be considered, but this should be considered everywhere. And also the problem we have is the Namibian government doesn't want to recognize indigenous communities in Namibia. All local communities are indigenous. Kavangos, Vambos, and all these people. They are indigenous of this land. Yeah. So that should be implemented in our policy.
Absolutely. No, I agree totally with you. As we close this conversation, Alphons, which is really a very insightful conversation as far as I'm concerned. Now, Baines, what must be the way forward? Like concretely, what can you place on record as a way forward? Because there are people who believe that those who say no, they are saying we don't want electricity being produced in this area. Forget about that idea. It must never happen. But you seem to have suggested that somehow there are those who are a bit liberal in their position on the matter to say, look, the project can go ahead provided that our input as a community is incorporated in that. The position really going forward?
I think the position is to bring all parties on the table. And I am recently coming from Kunene, just fresh from the region, and I drove from Rakana to Marinfus, Sesfontein area, the whole central area of Kunene, and I was talking to both groups. And I came to the group that say yes, and I said, what is on the table for you? What type of jobs that the government promised you? What is it for your grazings? What is the compensation there? What is the agreement that you have in place? And also the other fascinating thing is that we talk about electricity. What does electricity mean to a Himba person? And will they get the electricity? If they get, is it for free? Or are they paying? Are they aware of this battle of money that is coming on top? And look at the economical, social-economical impact they have where they are, as you talk about that being the poor. The education also, the education aspect when it comes to electricity itself is not there. That there is a cost on top of it. The job that the government is talking about is labor, hard labor. And so what I think is to bring all the group on the table, let's discuss all these things. If there is a holy tree, secret site, or there's a grave, the relocations, the influx of people that are coming, what is the compensation? What is on the table?
Yeah.
If you bring all the teams on the table or in the room, we could be able to come up with a solution.
Do you think men like yourself, a properly educated researcher of a very important subject, indigenous knowledge, and there are many other friends of mine, Edward Mumbu is a journalist, editor at New Era, Kavetu is a lawyer at MTC, and many, many others. Isn't Dorokade from Kunene also from?
No.
It's not?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from Ovitoto.
Oh, from Ovitoto. Yeah. Yeah. But I have a lot of friends from there. And things like electricity ought to only facilitate more of products like yourself. Schools are now having electricity, technology comes, children can study even at night. So there's a silver lining, not even a silver lining, because silver lining would be a small thing. It's actually a huge development for your community also. Of course, you asked a legitimate question, whether electricity will be free and all that, but you just said that the wealth of a Himba man is measured differently. Why must it be free for you?
I hear you. But when you come to the plan, it's funny, in August, on the 5th of August this year, there was a meeting that took place in Opuo, where certain groups, consultant from NamPower went to have a mapping of taking electricity, putting the poles that are taking this electricity from Orokawe. Where do you think they will connect it? Otapi, not Kunene, not Opuo. And when you go to, I'm not electricians, but what I read about, the far you are from the grid, the higher you pay.
And apparently even electricity is a bit weak.
Yeah.
Because, apparently.
Now, when you talk about hydro, Kunene Baines for Kunene developments, but it's connected directly to the power station in Otapi. Is it for Kunene or is it for the government itself? So these are big questions there. There's a lot that need to be discussed around these issues. There's a lot hidden. It's not on public domains that we need to come open and have thorough discussions. So I don't deny the benefit that the electricity bring, but I cannot deny the impact also that the project bring. So we had to put both on the table and value. Which one could we go for?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Alphons, thank you very much, my brother, for coming to the platform.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot of stuff tonight because, especially on indigenous knowledge, I think it's a very important aspect that we tend to overlook because we think indigenous is backward somehow, but it's actually of sentimental value. So I've learned a lot from that conversation. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much.
Sure, brother.
Sure.
That is Alphons Kahuhu. He's an indigenous knowledge researcher who has done a lot of work around the Baines project, the proposed Baynes Hydropower project in Kunene region, and how the community is taking that issue. Thank you for watching.